Humans mapped the stars, built pyramids, and invented mathematics. But for 4,000 years, nobody thought to study the mind scientifically. Not one lab, not one experiment, not one measurement. The thing you're using right now to understand this sentence went completely unexamined. And when people finally did try to explain the mind, the results were horrifying. Chains, starvation, exorcisms, patients suspended from ceilings in wicker baskets. This is the story of how psychology went from demons to data. Around 1550 BCE, an Egyptian medical text called the Ebers Papyrus described depression and thought disorders. 3,500 years ago, doctors were already writing about the darkness in the human mind. They just had no idea what caused it. Fast forward to ancient Greece. Around 600 BCE, Greek cities built temples to Asclepios, the god of healing. People with psychosomatic illnesses slept in these temples, hoping the god would cure them in their dreams. Water, fire, earth, and air. To spirits, no demons, just nature. But it was wrong in a scientific way, and that changed everything. Then came Hippocrates, the father of medicine. He flatly denied that demons cause disease. And he made a claim that was radical for his time. The brain, not the heart, is the organ of the mind. Think about how strange that must have sounded. Your heart pounds when you're scared. It races when you're in love. The brain just sits there, silently, doing nothing you can feel. Hippocrates also introduced the four temperaments, the idea that your personality came from a balance of bodily fluids. 2,000 years of doctors draining people's blood to fix their moods. Meanwhile, the philosophers were laying different groundwork. Plato argued the brain was the seat of mental processes. Aristotle wrote Dionyma, the first systematic treatment of the soul. He introduced an idea you've definitely heard of, the tabula rasa, the blank slate. The mind starts empty, and experience writes on it. And here's a detail that should blow your mind. Zeno of Citium founded Stoicism around 300 BCE. He taught that suffering comes not from events, but from your judgments about events. Your therapist is basically quoting Zeno with better office furniture. Meleid, but not everyone in the ancient world was enlightened. Meet Themison of Laodicea, 1st century BCE. His treatment for mental patients? Darkness, chains, starvation. The poet Juvenal joked that Themison killed more patients than he cured. It wasn't a joke to the patients. This is the pattern you'll see repeated for the next 2,000 years. Brilliant insight followed by unbelievable cruelty, over and over. In Rome, Celsus coined the term insania, insanity. He even understood the importance of the doctor-patient relationship. 2,000 years ago, someone already knew that trust heals. Then came Galen, the most influential physician in history. He dissected brains and proved that the brain controls the muscles. He separated sensory nerves from motor nerves. The wires going in are different from the wires going out. Actual neuroscience in the 2nd century. And around the same time, Cyrannus of Ephesus advocated something revolutionary. Kind treatment, light, warm rooms, comfort. It would take Europe another 1,600 years to catch up to that idea. Mental illness became demonic possession. A Galen. Mental illness became demonic possession agave. Light, you mental illness became demonic possession agave. Mental illness became demonic possession agave. By the 1300s, English authorities were treating the mentally ill with exorcism and torture. In 1247, a priory was founded outside London to collect alms for crusaders. By the 14th century, it was admitting mental patients. Its name was Bethlehem Royal Hospital. You know it by its nickname, Bedlam. A word so associated with chaos and suffering that it entered the English language itself. But here's the missing piece most history classes skip. While Europe was blaming demons, the Islamic world was building hospitals for. Al-Balkhi told doctors to evaluate both body and soul, linking mental health to overall health. Al-Razi promoted compassion for the psychologically distressed, and Avicenna's canon of medicine described hallucinations, insomnia, mania, dementia, and epilepsy. In 1025, there's even a scholar named Al-Biruni who ran experiments on reaction time, measuring the speed of the mind 1,000 years ago. So the question gets sharper in belief. Everyone assumed the mind couldn't be measured for psychology to become a science. Even the great philosophers thought it was impossible. The mind was the soul, and the soul belonged to religion, not laboratories. Then the 1800s arrived and broke that assumption apart. Scientists discovered nerves carry electrical signals, and those signals have a measurable speed. Your thoughts are not instant. They travel through your body like traffic. If mental events take time, mental events can be timed. The door was open, and in 1879, one man walked through it. Wilhelm Wundt, a German physiologist, opened a laboratory in Leipzig. The mind. Flash a light, play a tone, describe exactly what you experience. It sounds simple, but it was revolutionary. For the first time, consciousness itself was on the lab bench. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, an American named William James was doing something different. James didn't want to dissect consciousness into pieces. He wanted to know what the mind is for. Why did evolution give us fear, memory, attention, habit? His 1890 book, The Principles of Psychology, is still considered one of the greatest ever written in the field. He coined the phrase stream of consciousness. First came Sigmund Freud and the idea of the unconscious. The claim that most of your mind is hidden from you, that your choices are driven by desires you can't see. Interestingly, St. Augustine nearly discovered the subconscious 1500 years earlier in his Confessions. Freud just gave it a couch and a billing rate. Then came the backlash, behaviorism. The behaviorists looked at introspection and Freudian theory and said, none of this is measurable. You can't verify what someone claims to feel. So they made a ruthless decision. Rats in mazes, dogs drooling at bells, pigeons pecking levers. Psychology, the science of the mind, had banned the mind. Imagine astronomy banning telescopes because stars are hard to reach. But behaviorism had a fatal flaw. It couldn't explain language. Children produce sentences they've never heard before. You can't learn infinite sentences from finite rewards. Something inside the black box was doing real work, and then a machine changed everything, the computer. In the 1950s, scientists realized computers process information. They take input, transform it, store it, and produce output. Suddenly, there was a scientific language for talking about internal mental processes, memory as storage, attention as a filter, thinking as computation. This was the cognitive revolution. Psychology, linguistics, computer science, and neuroscience fused into cognitive science. The black box was finally pried open, and at the same time, the ancient ideas came full circle. Aaron Beck, treating depressed patients in the 70s, noticed their suffering came from distorted automatic thoughts. Stoicism, backed by clinical trials, Egyptian scribes describing depression, Hippocrates pointing at the brain while everyone stared at the heart, Galen tracing nerves, Baghdad building psychiatric wards, Bedlam's chains, Wundt's laboratory, James's stream of consciousness, Freud's hidden depths, the behaviorist's rebellion, and the computer that reopened the mind. Here's the revelation that ties it all together. Psychology took 4,000 years to become a science because it required something no other science needed. The mind had to study itself. The instrument and the object were the same thing. Every bias, every blind spot, every demon we blamed, those were the mind failing to see itself clearly. Why? And this history isn't finished. You're living inside the next chapter. Every time you say someone's gaslighting you, you're using ideas born in this timeline. Every therapy app on your phone descends from Wundt's little lab in Leipzig. Every time you catch a negative thought and question it, you're doing what Zeno taught and Beck proved. Neg and Zine, and every time you dismiss someone's struggle as weakness or attention-seeking, you're echoing the mistakes of Bedlam. The timeline of psychology isn't in a textbook. It's in how you talk to yourself this morning. It's in how you talk to yourself this morning. Kinsine.